Over to Janani Janakiraman.
I hope my screen is visible to everyone.
Yes, ma'am, it is visible.
So my topic for this annual conference on peace and reconciliation are twofold: justice in the workplace and the impact of armed conflict on children. I hope I can do brief justice to both of these topics in the given time. We'll start with justice in the workplace, and for that, I'm calling attention to one of Sadhguru's quotes, where she says, when something unpleasant happens to you, don't waste your time blaming the circumstances or persons that caused it. Rather, pray to God for strength. When the crocodile seized Gajendra, he prayed, Narayana, Guru of all beings, prostrations to you. He did not pray till the crocodile, till the crocodile. From this, of course, Gajendra is such an evolved being that he did not want retaliation, but he wanted only respect. He did not want, he did not call Narayana to remove his obstacle or kill the crocodile that is harming him, but he only asked for protection and praised the Lord. This, in my interpretation, I am connecting to one facet of justice, which is restorative justice. Restorative justice, in its essence, is merely having the victim, the offender, and the primary stakeholders in the crisis situation, whatever be the degree and intensity of it, to have dialogues between each other, to appraise the harm that has been caused, for everybody's voice and perspectives to be heard, and to collectively decide and collaborate to make things right. So I would like to view justice in the workplace through the lens of restorative justice and share just some insights. So it is a very humanistic lens of justice, where the person involved, the people involved are valued, and as employees they are viewed as valuable human contributors to the system rather than cost to the workplace. And through this lens, any reparation is facilitated through dialogues, and the focus is on building and empowering the people to create a harmonious workplace culture. So it's a very strengths-based approach and not a deficit-based approach. So the focus is not just conflict resolution, but the larger picture of what does the workplace stand for, what are we as a workplace encouraging, and what are we setting boundaries for. So through this lens, it brings the perspectives of psychology into the workplace systems. We'll quickly see why conventional legal practices may be failing at a workplace in the larger sense, because conventional systems view the victim as just a witness. They're invisible and voiceless in the sense that they have no say in the legal procedures. And there's re-traumatization through this process because of the process of them explaining and begging for change. It is very emotionally draining for that person, and the victim usually does not have any say in the outcome. It is a very top-down approach where another person is viewing the situation from their own lens and not from an empowering lens of the victim. terms of authority, and relational repair. So I would want to highlight this word relational because that is the essence of the application of restorative practices in the workplace. So every policy, every decision that is made is focused on the relational aspect of it, as in what are these people standing for, what is the workplace standing for, how am I able to help my employee, how is the employee benefited from it, is their employee well-being, how is their productivity impacted because of this. And a lot of cases has been done to highlight the advantages of restorative practices to deal with injustice and crisis situations, depending on the degree of severity, where they are clearly seen that there is a higher return on investment because of performance outcomes, there is more productivity, there is lesser conflict costs because there is lesser legal work, and of course a healthier workplace culture. So the focus is redemption and forgiveness. So giving credit where it's due, the ideas that I'm going to delve deeper into are things that have been talked about at various conferences because restorative justice is becoming the talk of the town in organizational psychology. So borrowing from ideas presented at one of the conferences held in Duke University. So restorative justice circles. So if you ask, okay, we talked about a little bit about restorative practices, but how do we implement it? So one of the ways we can implement restorative practices in the workplace is to hold restorative justice circles. So this borrows largely from quality circle times or circle time rituals that are popular in psychology and group therapy work, as well as widely used in the education industry with children, as well as the staff and the stakeholders over there. So it might sound trivial, but the key feature of this is actually to sit in a circle where there is no hierarchy, there is equality, everybody gets to see everybody, everybody feels equal. There are no top-down approaches. There is shared accountability, the responsibility of driving these conversations. Of course, there is going to be a facilitator who is going to take a neutral standpoint and ensure that everybody has their voice and choice. But it is a shared responsibility that everybody takes charge of, and it rebuilds the trust, opening for vulnerable conversations that result in healing. There is honest addressing of power dynamics, and through the whole process, it is to ensure that everybody engages meaningfully in a workplace. So, simple things like you could do with your team is to just sit together and ask about what happened. It might sound like a very simple question, but we have to delve deeper into what is the intent of the question. Is it coming from a space of curiosity and inquisitiveness where there is no judgment being held, or is it coming from the space of assumption, I already know but I just want to hear you? So understanding more about everybody's perspective, how we were impacted by it, how many things that you could think of when you say, yes, this impacted me, what are the spheres of life that were impacted by it? And it is also a very solution-oriented process. It is not just making people talk. It is collective and collaborative decision-making, taking into consideration the humanistic values. So it also talks about the way forward. You can encourage conversations about what needs to be said, heard, or done to repair and move forward. So as you can see, these can be used in various situations, be it small or large. I'm going to move on to, let's say, a simpler approach. If restorative justice circles seem to be something that requires more alignment and more effort, can we bring restorative practices into team meetings? Team meetings are going to happen day in and day out every week. based on the smaller teams or the larger teams, whether you're a team leader, middle leadership or senior leadership, you are going to facilitate these meetings. In that perspective, when we start a meeting, are we directly going into the agenda for the day? Or are we valuing the human in front of us? Are we asking about how are things? What is one highlight that you could share from your previous week? How was time at home? How was the break? What are you grateful for right now? So we call this a check-in. In circle time ritual, we call it a check-in, merely to ground the person to where they are in the here and now. And as we move on with the dialogue, something that we have to take into consideration is while team meetings are facilitated, can we make sure there are no hierarchies for the most part of it? Yes, there are unsaid hierarchies, there are apparent hierarchies as well, but can we talk from an approach that is not top-down? And when we're taking decisions, can we ask what are the positive impacts of this decision on the team? Let everyone talk. What's working well, what's not? Being open to feedback, asking about how are we showing up for each other, are we helping each other out beyond just the goals and the outcomes. And addressing these challenges and tensions through this lens focuses on reparation and not punishment, not punitiveness. So while facilitating these dialogues, are we avoiding blame? Can we encourage what do they need from this? Why is this happening? If this is happening repeatedly, what is it in my power that I can do for my team? And ask this for everybody, because it is not just the leader's responsibility to do reparations. It's a collective approach. So, and reflective responses from everyone. So these are ways to make sure that even team meetings, as mundane as they sound, are enriched, are empowering in ways and means that the employees feel like, yes, this is why I come to work every day. I feel heard, I feel respected over here. I'm an integral part, and it is a common understanding that everybody is replaceable. But yes, I am irreplaceable. I have my grounding over here. I find meaning in my work. And always to give them that sense of agency in aligning with the values and the goals of the organization. And always to have a closing ritual of something that they feel motivated about, to ask something like, is there something you would like to acknowledge or appreciate about someone over here? So all throughout this, as facilitators of team meetings, to be open to feedback and to actually be open to feedback and not just have it said. So now I'd like to also try to understand from organizational perspectives, why do we have to take this effort? I already give my employees benefit packages. I have a break room, I have a game room over there where they can relax when they want to. But these small acts go a long way. As Yoga Sutra talks about, future suffering can be avoided. So using restorative practices in the mundane or the large act as preventive strategies for potential future conflicts. And compassionate leadership from restorative practices go a long way. And the bhavanas that are mentioned in the Yoga Sutras are literally the end-all and be-all of every situation, where the leader can be friendly to the people who are very happy, performing well, of course, compassionate to the people going through challenges, making sure that they come out of it, giving them additional support when they really need it. Being unperturbed in the sense of upeksha is also could be interpreted as not choosing the blame game, not being punitive in front of everybody, having one-on-one conversations at a later time, and of course being mudita, where your team could probably be very appreciative of their success, giving acknowledgement where it's due. And yamas and niyamas of Yoga Sutra Sutra, they really empower any person doing any job, and especially for compassionate leadership, ahimsa, satyam, asteyam, not stealing, giving credit where it's due, being moderate, and the absence of greed in the sense that we're not always going to be outcome oriented, we're also process oriented. And I would like to read this Yoga Sutra as a leader, being firmly grounded in non-violence and ahimsa. The employees around you will naturally lose any feelings of hostility. So ahimsa is something that is an integral part of leadership and management. Bhagavad Gita is not my expertise, but I felt like I related largely to this sutra, where, this verse, where Krishna says every endeavor is covered by some fault. So we're not looking for justice, but we're looking for acceptance. It just is because as employers, to be very compassionate with the people around you.
Janani, sorry to interrupt.
From a restorative lens, where forgiveness is relinquishing our right to get even. So it's not retaliation, it's not this for that. If we were always going for an eye to eye, I read somewhere that the world would be blind. So retaliation is secondary or could be avoided, and reparation and repair and healing could be a focus. So at this point,
Janani?
I'm going to transition
Janani, sorry
to
to
the same lens.
Janani, sorry to interrupt you.
Yes.
I think we're running out of time. So if you have to say in a few words about impact of armed conflict on children, we can take it. Otherwise, I mean, if you need too much time, it may be difficult. But if you can summarize.
Maybe 3 more minutes and summarize with the impact of armed conflict.
Okay, sure.
So we do
Thanks.
know armed conflict relates a lot to crisis, war zones. So I'm just going to take one aspect of the time after conflict, where there are chances for post-traumatic growth, where people who have gone through traumatic experiences come out stronger, wiser, and more connected to what matters. So of course there are a lot of factors that we can promote post-traumatic growth. It is not a necessary outcome for people who have gone through trauma, but it is a possible outcome. So one thing that I want to stress here is family support, the presence of siblings and parental influence. So tying to the home environment, sometimes unfortunately the home environment can also become the battlefield. So in those circumstances, as adults and as parents, what are the responsibilities that has to be taken? Is to model healthy conflict resolution by apologizing, by de-escalating situations, and modeling healthy coping mechanisms. For example, religion and spirituality in moderation, where it is not forced upon, but the highlights of which are explained and practiced oneself. And an aspect which I found very fascinating, where the authoritative parenting style, which we've always looked at, is also called the restorative parenting style, where the parents are not only establishing very clear boundaries, but also giving enough and lot of love and support and scaffolding such that children know their boundaries, but also grow to be wonderfully integrated, healthy, resilient children, because children have innate resilience that we can tap into whenever there is a lot of crisis. And now I'd like to end with Sadhuma's Upadesham, where she talks about children being a great responsibility if they're not brought well, then the parents have spoiled the life of a fellow human being, as well as make things difficult for the rest of society. So with that, I thank Swamiji for this wonderful opportunity, for giving me the space to explore these beautiful concepts of Pranam Shri Sadhguru Pranam.
Thank you, Janani, for the very relevant and important talk that you have given, especially about workplace culture and restorative practices, both at the workplace as well as for children.